Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now by now you've probably heard that the GTA Definitive Edition Trilogy has received an update and it adds classic lighting modes to all three games. Now I believe the games came to Netflix, iOS and Android, or iOS and Android via Netflix, something like that, and when they released like last year they actually had this classic lighting already enabled, and it's only now that we've finally got it on PC and consoles despite the game coming out in 2021, so 3 years in the making, but better late than never, I guess. I think this classic lighting option really benefits each game. First of all, we have GTA 3 here. It's gone from a weird sort of blend of Fortnite and Simpsons hit and run to a darker, grittier atmosphere, one that the game really deserves, with a slight blue tinge to everything. You know, this really throws me back. I like to call this classic lighting option a bit of a nostalgia filter. I also want to focus on performance a little bit because that's what we're all about on this channel. Now the 1.1% lows are all over the place, no matter the settings. I was running at 2560 by 1440 at max across all three games with a 4060 and 12400F, and the frame times are a bit of a mess. You know, in standard DX11 mode that this game runs in naturally, all over the place. There's no in-game benchmark run either, so I sort of did the same thing twice in each game and recorded the average with classic lighting on and off, and the averages were within a couple of frames of each other as well, which I'm going to put down to margin of error because there's no dedicated benchmark run. But GTA 3, I think it makes a pretty nice difference here. It's not just the lighting, but there are different graphical tweaks. I think the patch notes were rather vague, but I can definitely see a few differences. Moving on to Vice City, and this one looks absolutely fantastic, to be fair. This one is where this new classic lighting option makes all the difference, and again, performance in terms of an average is basically the same. Vice City has gone from looking like a bit of a cold winter's Miami day, if there is such a thing, to a game that actually looks warm and inviting. Really takes me back to that 1980s era that unfortunately I did not exist in. But I remember playing this on the PS2 when I was 18 when I was 18 years old, as per the game's legal requirement, of course, and thinking this is such a good looking game. And when the Definitive Edition came out, I thought, this is not quite how I remember it. There's no sort of warm atmospheric feeling to it, but with the addition of this, it sort of brings it back a little. But I mean, it's miles ahead of what we have had for the last few years on PC and consoles. Again, performance-wise, very similar. When we enable classic lighting, which is actually on by default, I should say, the cloud option disappears, so we can't choose volumetric clouds. Everything's just sort of bundled within this option, so you have it on or off, the toggle that is, and it makes a few changes. There's not really much else you can input here. It's either on or off, but it will be on when you fire up the games for the first time, and it will remain on unless you decide to switch it off yourselves. Speaking of graphical options, the other thing I did notice is that it kept defaulting to a 60 FPS lock every time I fired the game up. I have a 144Hz monitor at the moment, so I had to set that manually. It's no problem, we can set it to that with VSync, or we can run it unlocked, but I just thought that was worth pointing out. Finally, we'll move on to GTA San Andreas, which has perhaps had the most in terms of visual improvements, at least in terms of the various skyboxes. You know, GTA San Andreas used to have these various colour tones like orange, purple, yellow, depending on the time of day and where you were, and it was truly something to behold back in the day, a real visual treat. That sort of disappeared again with the definitive version, and what's worse, when you took a jet really high up into the air or you were flying a plane, you could see the entirety of the map. It was really a bit of a childhood ruiner because the map that we spent so long thinking was massive turned out to be this teeny tiny thing that we could see all of. It was a true nostalgia crusher, put it that way. With the new update, the fog's back, the smog's back, the draw distance is better in terms of actually being worse, but that makes it better because that's how San Andreas used to be. I think this is going to split opinions. Maybe if you're a younger player who's played this definitive version for the first time, you may prefer the updated visuals, but everyone sort of my age, which is pretty old now, and older, may appreciate the older classic lighting mode. But that is the joy of PC gaming. Of course, we have both to choose from. If you don't like one, you can turn it off and whatnot. But San Andreas, again, the performance differences are minimal, but this has made me want to play the Definitive Trilogy yet again, and now it's a bit easier on the eyes in my opinion. It's certainly a bit more of a reimagining of my childhood trilogy as opposed to something that's been butchered. But yeah, there we are, my thoughts and opinions. Performance wise, it seems to run the same, at least on my hardware. Nothing major in terms of frame rate problems, aside from the standard percentile issues which have always been there. But there we are. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.